It's the beginning of July here in the UK, which is basically midsummer. So what are you going to be propagating at this time? There is plenty that you can be doing. Hello, I'm Rosie Hardy. This is Rosie Hardy Gardening. So a lot of people think that in midsummer there aren't things that they can propagate, but there certainly are. And there are a lot of different plant material out there that you can get. For instance, there are a lot of your subshrubs, such as your rosemaries, lavenders and teucriums and things that are like that, that you can start to take your semi-ripe cuttings from. Now, semi-ripe cuttings are slightly different from your tip cuttings in that you are taking material which has started to change colour. So instead of using the really soft whippy growth at the top, although that is part of the cutting, you are wanting to go to this bit of material here. So you can see here, this is just starting to turn brown. If I lift that leaf there, you can see there is a difference between the brown that is there and the green here, which is the softwood. Really close up, just to show you exactly what I mean by this is where it is brown and this is the green bit. So this is all flexible and it changes to this brown here. And this is the time of year to be doing semi-ripe cuttings. So that is the rosemary, and it's very obvious to see that on this. This is the teucrium, and it's not quite so obvious on something which has got silver stems, because it's not so obvious to see that this bit of growth at the bottom here, so what I'm talking about is this growth here rather than this growth here. So this is flexible, but this is becoming more solid. So once it becomes more solid, that is then your semi-ripe material. So when you do semi-ripe cuttings, you're doing a slightly longer cutting, and you're taking it from an old stem like this, and you will be preparing it quite nicely. So you would be able to get quite a few cuttings off this material, and you would be taking them from this point here off the side of there, and you can take two here, let's just for instance. So you've got your tip here, and you can see this is nice and flexible, this bit of material here. But once you get a bit further down the stem, it becomes harder and harder. And that is because this is starting to become woody. So you would get rid of a pair or so. You can leave it as a cutting like that, which is just slightly different. But what I would always say with your semi-ripe cuttings is do some scoring. So basically what you're doing is taking your snips and you are creating a wound, and if you do a couple of wounds like that down the actual stem like so, that will go in as a, and what will happen is this bit that is wounded, so this bit here which is the wound, is going to scar up, and when it scars up, that is the material that then turns into the roots. Now these will be inserted. You'd get rid of the next couple of leaves like so, and you would reduce the surface area at the top and probably reduce the surface area of these leaves, because we're doing this in midsummer, so therefore they will lose a lot of water through transpiration. Transpiration is very similar to what we think of as evaporation. So basically they're losing the water through their leaves. That is now a cutting that can be inserted to around about that depth there. So we are inserting it to here, and then it's going to scar tissue here, but they take longer to root down than your tip cuttings. So do be patient with your semi-ripe. They're not going to be rooted in 10-15 days. It's going to take them more like 25-30 days for them to actually start to root, and you will not be potting these on. So if you're going to be taking these in mid-July, then they will not be ready for potting on until probably September. So be aware that they are going to stay in the container for a lot longer. And it's exactly the same with your rosemary. So you would take your cutting off here and maybe off there, and you can get rid of a little bit. I'm not actually getting rid of or taking the tip out, I'm going to clean off a few leaves down at the base here, and then you can now see on this cutting nice dark bits there. And again, you can do exactly the same. You can give it a little bit of a score and that will be fine. So those are your semi-ripe cuttings, and those are really nice, easy things to do with the sub-shrubby type of material, rosemary, lavender, teucriums and other types of sub-shrubs. Then there are your normal plant material like your salvias here, and the salvias are going up to flower. If you can find some young side shoots and growths on these like that, which do not have flower, then these are ideal for taking cuttings of. And remember, it needs to be a tip, so you would make sure that you cut it in a good way so that you've got it off to down and made it nice and neat. These are square stemmed, so quite often when you take it you might find a hollow. That is too long for a tip cutting. Off here at the base of 2 leaves, take the 2 leaves off and then across like so. Now, if you are really interested in propagation, then please do look at the link, because we have now produced an online propagation course, and that is going to go through all of the types of propagating that you can do with herbaceous perennials. I've done a lot of propagating over the years, and I'm just trying to give you all my experience to try and help you to be able to propagate better. So with this one, there we go, a nice tip cutting. So you can still be doing tip cuttings as long as you have got things that you can do. If you've got material that needs to be potted up, so say your heucheras has finished flowering, you can get rid of the old flower like so. This needs a bit of a tidy up, and at the same time as giving it a tidy up, because if you look into the center of this plant, and if I get rid of some of the old leaf here, which is not looking very good, you will see that in actual fact with this plant we've got 3 bits of growth. So we've got a nice strong growth there, a nice little side growth there. So instead, oh, and this one's actually got another few pieces down at the bottom there. So you could pot up this plant and keep 3 nice growths, but also at the same time, now don't use your good secateurs this, use a pair which are dirty to take this first, and you could do a basal cutting. Now this is whereby you go into the ground a bit like so, and you will take a cutting like that. Now that's all we need the dirty snips for, and then once we've taken this out, we are left with a piece of material like this. We get rid of the old leaves, we don't need those. It doesn't need that one there, or probably that. Yeah, we can get rid of 1 or 2 of these. Get rid of the dirty stuff here, and then what you need to do is think about how much leaf it needs. Now it's got no roots on it, it's got a lovely straight piece there, but what you probably don't need is these leaves. So instead of pulling those ones off, I'm just going to chop those so that we are now left with a nice stubby piece here. And again, you can do a little bit of scoring, and that is how you score. So you can see you've got this great bit of material here. Let me just show you that again. So you are literally just taking the snips down and you are scoring off a bit. Now this means that you're going to get nice growth there. That's going to be inserted into compost, really good. So that's another type of material you can do. So at the moment we have done both few soft tip cuttings, we've done a little basal cutting, because then we're going to pot this plant up and get it to be really chunky and it'll grow away really nicely. What else have we got that we can cover? Something that is good to do is go and have a look at plant material that you've cut back down. So you've done a little bit of early pruning, and then you've got plant material that's cut back down which is heading off back up again, but it has beautiful cuttings that you can take from it. So this is a diacia. Diacia are quite difficult because if you were to take this long piece, for instance, and I'm just doing this because it's a good way of showing you exactly what I mean. These have got square stems. Now, what has happened there where I have taken it, you can see that there is a hole there. So basically that hole there is right the way through. So if I cut it a little bit tighter like that, there we go. You can see that there is a hole in the center of this stem. Now they will not root if they've got holes, so you cannot take a cutting from this bit of material, but you could take a cutting from the top. So it's quite interesting to see how far up it is still hollow. It's hollow there, it's hollow there, it's still hollow there. So a lot of people would think of taking a cutting would have been to there, but no, you need to go to this pair of leaves here, and now it is not hollow. There is no hole in there at all, and again it is a soft tip cutting. So go and have a look at material that you have cut back like this, and just taking the odd one or two means you've got more coming through. So that's another way of getting material at this time of the year. And remember, do not overwater, and very definitely do not put them into harsh sunlight at this time of the year. Put them somewhere shaded, as cool as you possibly can. Now, another thing that is possible to propagate at this time of the year is the summer growing grasses. So something like this, the Heuchera, is really good. This is straight Heuchera macra. Now, this plant you can see has got a really good big central piece right the way through here. And what we could do with this plant is we could take it out of the pot and we could take this off and split it off, and then we could put this bit back into the center of the pot. So at the same time as taking this off, we're also potting it up. This will not restrict its growth. It will keep on growing really, really well. So what you would do here, if you don't want to do all of that, you could just look at these side growths and go, right, I just want to take a small amount off this plant, and you could take that bit off. So that would be done by taking it out of the container, cutting it down, and then removing it. So that is something else that you could be doing at this time if you're wanting to get more plants of things like the summer growing grasses. This one is really great. This is great for shade. So there are lots of things that you can do. It's a matter of looking out and having a look at the material that you've got, what is coming through, what looks as though you can take. But do remember, do not take from dead or dying plants. They are not going to work, or disease. All that will happen is that you will end up propagating something that's got disease. You'll be throwing it away. If it's dying, it's not going to be a strong plant. So just be aware of those side things. Please have a look at the link below, and do join us on the propagation course. It's such fun. It's really going to help a lot of people. Thank you very much for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel. If you want to watch another video of mine, YouTube thinks this one is perfect for you.